Aria Jackson had never forgotten the sound of the cell door closing behind her. It was supposed to be a routine stop, a misunderstanding, a mistake. But mistakes don't leave scars that deep. She was 22, fresh out of law school, waiting for her bar results. Now 15 years later, she stood on the other side of the system. Not as a victim, as a judge. In Halston City, power wore a uniform and silence paid well. But Aria had learned long ago that silence could kill you. This was just another file, she thought, until she opened it. The arrest report was thin, too thin. A single page, words carefully chosen. Subject exhibited erratic behavior. Non-compliant. Failed to provide ID upon request. Officer feared for personal safety. Routine. Except the subject, Terrence Cole, had no record. A teacher, 37, stopped while walking home after a late parent-teacher conference. Aria frowned. The officer? Rookie. First solo shift. Officer Rachel Sterling. Just graduated from East Vale Training Academy. Aria's eyes narrowed. East Vale. She'd seen that name before. Her phone buzzed. Judge Jackson, you're going to want to see this. It was her clerk, Daniel. He sent the video link. The footage was shaky, shot on a bystander's phone. A man in a blazer, backpack slung over one shoulder, stood calmly on the sidewalk. Officer Sterling approached, hand on her belt. Voices rose. Terrence's words were clear, even over the chaos. I'm not resisting. And then, cuffs. Tight. Fast. His face twisted in confusion, not defiance. Aria muted the video. Her pulse quickened. She knew that face. Not Terrence's, but Rachel's. She had seen that same rigid stance before, in courtrooms, in reports, in herself. 2 days later, the courtroom was packed. Officer Sterling sat straight back at the prosecution table, flanked by department brass. Her badge gleamed. Her eyes stayed forward. She had done everything right, they insisted. She followed procedure. She feared for her safety. Aria called for silence. Let's begin, she said. Marcus Dean, Terrence's attorney, stood. Calm, precise. Your Honor, we have recovered additional footage from a nearby shop camera. The defense claims Officer Sterling acted on instinct, that Mr. Cole was aggressive. This footage tells a different story. The video played. Terrence walked. Calm. Paused near a street lamp, pulled out his phone. Sterling's cruiser slowed. She stepped out. Words were exchanged, but there was no threat, no sudden move. The room was still. Aria leaned forward. Officer Sterling, do you recognize this footage? Sterling nodded, barely. Do you still claim you feared for your safety? I believed he was acting suspiciously, she said. Her voice didn't crack. It didn't need to. Back in chambers, Aria read Sterling's training records. All of them glowing. High marks. Excellent command presence. Demonstrates rapid response. But buried in the margins, a note. Recommended for PCC, potential compliance candidate. Aria's stomach turned. That night, Aria made a call. One she hadn't made in years. Jonas? It's Aria. A pause. I wondered when you'd reach out. You still watching East Vale? Always. You ready to know what they're really teaching? The next morning, Jonas stood in Aria's office, a stack of files in his arms. They don't just train cops. They condition them. PCC candidates, handpicked. Low resistance to authority. High responsiveness to control tactics. He slid a folder across her desk. Aria opened it. Names, photos, evaluations. And there she was. Rachel Sterling, PCC elite. Responds well to hierarchical reinforcement. Shows readiness to assert authority without hesitation. The courtroom was different that day. Tense. Expectant. Aria looked at Rachel. No anger. Just truth. You were selected for a program at East Vale. PCC. Did you know what that meant? Rachel blinked. It was an honor. Fast-track development. They told us it meant we had potential. And did they teach you how to write reports? What words to use? Rachel hesitated. They gave us guidelines. Aria nodded. Like erratic behavior, non-compliant. Officer feared for safety. Rachel didn't answer. You're not on trial yet, Officer Sterling. But you might be. That afternoon, Aria called Daniel. Pull every arrest report from Eastvale graduates over the last 5 years. Cross-check for PCC candidates. That's a lot of data. I'm not asking for easy. I'm asking for the truth. That night, Aria sat alone reading. One report after another. Same phrases. Same patterns. Different names, different faces. Always the same story. She reached for her old case file. The one they'd sealed. Subject became confrontational. Failed to comply. Different decade. Same script. She picked up her pen. Wrote one word in bold at the top of her notes. Pattern. The next morning, Daniel burst in, breathless. You need to see this. He dropped a file on her desk. Eastvale's funding. Guess who sponsors their PCC program? Aria flipped the page. Vanguard Tactical Systems. Private security. Big contracts. National reach. Get me everything. Now, Aria stood by the window, watching the city wake. The system wasn't broken. It was built this way. And now, she was going to break it. Aria Jackson stood at the edge of a storm. The name on the file burned in her mind. Vanguard Tactical Systems. It wasn't just a sponsor. It was the lifeline. They didn't just fund Eastvale's PCC program. They designed it, marketed it, sold it to departments hungry for results, not justice. And now every arrest, every report, every life shattered under that system carried their fingerprints. The city wasn't ready for this, but she was. That morning, she called Marcus Dean. I need your help. Off the record. You've got it, he replied without hesitation. What's happening? Vanguard's deeper in this than we thought. I want to know who's tied to them. City council, department heads, anyone with a stake. Marcus was silent for a beat. Then, I'll pull what I can. But Aria, this won't just rattle cages. It'll burn them down. Let it. The courtroom buzzed as word spread that Judge Jackson had called for an emergency session. No press, no cameras. Just the people who needed to hear the truth. Rachel Sterling sat alone at the table. Her badge surrendered. Her future hanging by a thread. She hadn't spoken since the last hearing. But today, she would. Officer Sterling. Aria began, voice steady. Have you ever heard the name Vanguard Tactical Systems? Rachel's brow furrowed. They ran our seminars. Provided the field drills, gear, protocol manuals. And did they ever instruct you to prioritize control over community? Rachel hesitated. They said control was safety. That uncertainty was danger. Aria leaned in. And when did you realize that wasn't true? Rachel's voice dropped. When I saw Terrence's face and couldn't explain why I cuffed him. Outside, Marcus dug deeper. The city contracts were clear. Vanguard received millions for compliance optimization tools. But the real trail led elsewhere. Emails, private meetings, a series of wire transfers to a consulting firm, Halcorp Strategies. Marcus picked up the phone. Aria, I've got something. Halcorp. They're washing the money. Who runs it? A pause. Your district's deputy mayor, Lyle Brenner. Aria froze. Lyle Brenner, the man who'd sworn he'd back her appointment, who'd promised reform, transparency. She knew his speeches by heart. Now she saw his shadow. That evening, Aria met Jonas in a quiet bar, the kind where secrets lived and died in low voices. How bad is it? She asked. Jonas slid a folder across the table. Brenner isn't just funding them. He's profiting. Vanguard pays Halcorp. Halcorp launders it through city initiatives, community policing grants, youth programs. It's all a front. And the council? Blind or complicit. Aria closed her eyes. We bring this forward, they'll gut us. Jonas shrugged. Or we gut them first. The next day, Aria filed a motion for a closed-door judicial inquiry into municipal corruption tied to law enforcement contracts. It wasn't standard. It wasn't safe. But it was necessary. Her clerk, Daniel, looked at her, eyes wide. You sure about this? I'm not here to keep my seat warm, Daniel. I'm here to bring the heat. Rachel Sterling returned to the stand. This time, not as a defendant, but as a witness. I need you to tell this court everything, Aria said. her tone sharper now. Not just what you were taught. Who taught you? Who reinforced it? Rachel swallowed hard. After every shift, we filed evaluations. Not just reports. Feedback forms. Vanguard reviewed them. They'd comment on our language, suggest edits. If we didn't use the right phrasing, erratic, non-compliant, evasive, they'd make us rewrite. And who in the department enforced that? Rachel looked up. Captain Mills. He said if we wanted to move up, we played by their rules. Captain Harold Mills. Department Golden Boy. Always smiling. Always by the book. Aria's hand tightened around her pen. Across town, Marcus sent her another file. This one deeper. Older. Captain Mills once worked for Vanguard Tactical Systems before he joined the force. Back in her chambers, Aria pieced it together. Vanguard trained the officers. Vanguard paid the city. Vanguard hired Mills. Brenner took the cut. They weren't just partners. They were architects. And Aria? She was standing in their way. That night, a knock rattled her office door. Daniel stood, pale. "Judge, you need to see this." He handed her a letter. No return address. "Step down or we step in." Her pulse slowed. "This scare you?" Daniel asked. Aria shook her head. "It confirms we're close." The next morning, before court convened, Aria called a meeting. "Jonas, Marcus, Rachel, Daniel, we bring this forward," she said. "We do it together." Jonas placed a flash drive on her desk. Mills financials, offshore accounts, transfers from Halcorp. Marcus added a folder. Testimonies from other PCC recruits. Same training, same tactics. They're ready to talk. Rachel looked up. "I want to testify. Publicly. No more hiding." Daniel nodded. "We've got the council records. Brenner approved every contract." Aria glanced at the clock. "We take it to court tomorrow, and we bring the whole house down." That night, she returned home, exhausted but resolved. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. A voice. Low, calm, dangerous. "You bring this forward, Judge Jackson, and you won't make it to the bench." The line went dead. Aria stared into the dark and smiled. The voice still echoed in Aria Jackson's ears. "You bring this forward, Judge Jackson, and you won't make it to the bench." She didn't flinch when the line went dead. She didn't call the police. She didn't pace or panic. Instead, she sat in the silence, letting the weight of the threat settle. It wasn't fear that filled her. It was clarity. They were desperate now, and desperation made people sloppy. By dawn, the city buzzed with quiet rumors. Word had leaked. Judge Jackson was about to name names. High-ranking ones. The council, the department brass, maybe more. Lyle Brenner's office was locked tight. The blinds drawn. His assistant claimed he was out of town. No one believed it. Captain Mills hadn't shown up for his morning shift. No call. No explanation. And Aria? She was already at the courthouse, waiting. Rachel Sterling arrived first. Her eyes were different now. Still tired, still heavy, but no longer hollow. She was ready, not to save herself, but to burn the system that built her. Marcus Dean followed, carrying 2 more files. These just came in. Whistleblower from Vanguard's internal legal team. They've been scrubbing contracts since your first hearing. Aria flipped through the pages. Then we've got what we need. By 9 a.m., the courtroom was standing room only. Aria took her seat, gavel in hand. This session is now in order. Her voice cut clean through the tension. Today, we will present evidence of coordinated misconduct between city officials, law enforcement, and private entities designed to undermine justice and shield systemic abuse. No ceremony, no preamble, just truth. Marcus called Rachel to the stand. "You stated previously that Captain Mills enforced Vanguard's protocols inside the department. Did you witness this directly?" Rachel nodded. "He ran weekly debriefs. We'd review body cam footage, not for mistakes, but to refine our language. He'd tell us what words stuck, what didn't. He even had templates." Templates. Yes. Pre-written report outlines. We just filled in the blanks. And were these templates provided by Mills or Vanguard? Both. Mills customized them for our district. Aria leaned forward. And did you use these templates for the arrest of Terrence Hale? Rachel's voice didn't waver. Yes, Your Honor. The gallery shifted. Whispers rippled. Terrence Hale's mother, seated in the front row, bowed her head. Outside the courthouse, news vans circled. Reporters shouted questions to anyone in uniform. Inside, Aria remained focused. Marcus, continue. He held up the flash drive. This contains financial records linking Captain Mills to offshore accounts, funded by Halcorp. We also have signed contracts approved by Deputy Mayor Brenner, allocating city funds to Vanguard under false pretenses. Aria nodded. Submit them into evidence. Suddenly, Daniel rushed to her side, whispering urgently, Judge, emergency. Captain Mills, he's just been found. Aria stiffened. Where? Daniel swallowed. Dead. In his home. Gunshot wound. They're calling it suicide. A cold hush fell over the room. Rachel gasped. Her hands trembled. Aria's grip on the gavel tightened. This court will recess for 10 minutes. In her chambers, Aria paced. He was their fail-safe, Jonas said, arriving with the news already in hand. He falls, they control the narrative. No, Aria replied, her mind racing. We control it now. Jonas placed a manila envelope on her desk. I pulled surveillance footage from Mills' block. He wasn't alone last night. Someone visited. 20 minutes before the gunshot. Aria opened the folder. A still image. Grainy, but clear enough. The visitor? Lyle Brenner. She didn't hesitate. Subpoena Brenner. Now, by the afternoon session, the courtroom was electric. Whispers flew. Mills was dead. Brenner was missing. Judge Jackson wasn't backing down. Aria returned to the bench. This court acknowledges the death of Captain Harold Mills, now under investigation. However, his death will not stall these proceedings. She turned to Marcus. Call your next witness. He nodded. Your Honor, we call Special Agent Talia Price, FBI. The agent took the stand, confident, crisp. Agent Price, has your investigation uncovered evidence of municipal collusion in the enforcement initiative? Yes, Your Honor. Our team found encrypted communications between Deputy Mayor Brenner, Vanguard executives, and Captain Mills, detailing operational instructions and financial arrangements. Specifics. Brenner ensured city funding. Mills executed training oversight. Vanguard supplied protocols in exchange for inflated contracts and political leverage. The room buzzed, but Aria raised a hand. And do you have evidence linking Brenner directly to Mills' death? Price paused. We're still reviewing surveillance, but Brenner was present at Mills' residence shortly before the incident. He left moments before the estimated time of death. Rachel's breath caught. It wasn't just about corruption now. It was murder. Aria stood. This court will issue an immediate bench warrant for Deputy Mayor Lyle Brenner for obstruction of justice and potential involvement in the death of Captain Mills. The gavel cracked. Session adjourned until further notice. Outside, chaos erupted. Inside, Aria gathered her team. They'll come harder now, Jonas warned. Brenner's not just running. He's fighting. Aria nodded. Then so are we. That night, a black SUV pulled up outside the courthouse. A man stepped out. He wasn't part of the department. He wasn't media. He was something else. A fixer. Sent by Vanguard. Inside his coat, he carried a list. A list of people who needed to be silenced. And at the top, Aria Jackson. The black SUV idled across from a courthouse, headlights off, windows tinted dark enough to swallow light. Inside, the man they sent waited, still as a shadow, watching the building where Aria Jackson had refused to bend. The list he carried was short, precise, clean, and at the top, her name. He didn't see himself as a killer. He saw himself as a solution. Inside, Aria Jackson stood at the window of her chambers, looking out into the quiet city. It was late, but she wasn't tired. She couldn't be. The truth had cut too deep, exposed too much. There was no rest when justice was this close. The door creaked open behind her. Jonas, They found Brenner. Her breath caught. She turned. Where? Trying to board a private jet. He didn't make it far. FBI's got him in custody. He's not talking yet, but they've seized his accounts. Vanguard's pulling strings, but it's slipping. Aria nodded. Good. Jonas hesitated. There's more. Phillips traced the last few server breaches. Vanguard wasn't just erasing files. They were planting them. Fabricated reports. Fake disciplinary records on officers who questioned the system. Some of them got blacklisted. Others. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Aria's jaw tightened. We'll clear every single one. The man in the SUV checked his watch. She'd leave soon. She always did. The courthouse was empty now, except for her. He reached for the door handle. Rachel Sterling walked the empty hallway, her steps echoing in the stillness. The city had changed her. No more illusions. But she wasn't broken. She was done hiding. She knocked on Aria's door. Come in, Aria called. Rachel stepped inside, holding a file. It's done. The final list. Every officer, every false report. We can present it first thing. Aria took the file, flipping through page after page of names. Victims. Survivors. This ends tomorrow, she said quietly. Rachel's voice was firm. No, it ends now. Downstairs, the man moved through the shadows. The courthouse was quiet, just as planned. His steps were silent. He wasn't here to make a mess. Just a message. Aria and Rachel descended the marble steps, file in hand, ready to leave. Outside, the night air was crisp cutting. A car waited by the curb. Rachel glanced around. Feels off, doesn't it? Aria nodded. But she didn't stop. Justice didn't wait for fear. The man stepped from the dark. Aria saw him first. The coat. The stance. She knew. He reached inside. Rachel shouted. Stop. The floodlights hit. FBI agents surged from the corners. Drop it. Hands up. The man froze. Aria didn't blink. She didn't move. She just watched as the fixer, the solution, became the problem. In seconds, he was on the ground, cuffed. The list fluttered from his pocket. Jonas ran over, breathless. We've been tracking him. Knew they'd send someone. Aria looked down at the list. Names. Hers. Rachel's. Phillips. Jonas. Even Marcus. She picked it up, folded it carefully. They thought fear would finish what lies couldn't. The next morning, the courtroom was packed. No more whispers. No more doubts. Just faces. Some angry. Some hopeful. All watching. Aria Jackson stood at the bench, the final file in front of her. This court has reviewed every piece of evidence, every testimony, every truth clawed from beneath layers of silence. She paused. No more secrets. Rachel sat beside Marcus, eyes locked forward. Jonas stood near the back, arms crossed. Phillips, bruised but alive, took a seat in the gallery. And in the defendant's box, Lyle Brenner, defiant, but no longer in control. Aria continued. The Enforcement Enhancement Program, under the guise of safety, was a tool of manipulation, a scheme that traded integrity for influence, justice for profit. Today that ends. She looked at Brenner. You leveraged fear. You turned public service into private gain. You endangered lives for power. Then to Rachel. And you were a product of that system. But you chose to break it. Rachel nodded. Tears didn't come anymore. Only resolve. Aria's voice didn't waver. This court, in collaboration with the Department of Justice, hereby enforces the following. The immediate dissolution of Vanguard's contracts with all municipal departments. The freezing of all assets tied to enforcement enhancement. And the initiation of criminal proceedings against all named participants in the conspiracy, including, but not limited to, Lyle Brenner. She banged the gavel once. Justice is not measured by control. It is measured by truth. Outside, the city exhaled. News broke. The names were public. The documents released. And the silence shattered. Later, as Aria walked out of the courthouse, Rachel caught up. What now? Aria looked out over the city. We rebuild. Honestly, this time. Rachel nodded. I want to help. You will. In the weeks that followed, officers trained under the corrupt protocols came forward. Communities once silenced spoke up. Lawsuits turned into reforms. Policy into accountability. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was real. And it was earned. What would you do if standing for justice meant standing alone at first? Let us know in the comments. Because silence protects power. But truth protects us all. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us. Real change starts when we refuse to look away.